I'm talking about the Toyon, or Christmas berry, which is called, its scientific name is Herdimolus arbitifolia, and it's in the Rosea family, and it's the only tree in its genus. So its name is derived from the Greek, which means it's because of the berries, which look like a little apple. The plant has berries which ripen over a long time. They usually start August, September, ripening into December. And because of that, it has several ways that it protects this fruit over a long time, so it doesn't get eaten before the winter. And one of the things is it has like chemicals, tannins, which are very bitter to eat. And so they prevent, this bitterness prevents any animals eating on the leaves or trying for the fruit early on. So it also helps it so that it doesn't get attacked by fungi, and so it's till the seed is ready to be dispersed, so that the tree is protected. And because of this long time, this later time, the berries are one of the few native berries that are able for birds to eat in the winter. That's available for them. And there's about over 20 different bird species that consume the red berries, and that includes cedar waxings, varied thrushes, and band-tailed pigeons. And they can descend on a bush and just devour it in a really short amount of time. Interestingly enough, that mammals will also eat the berries, but they take their cue from the birds, because many mammals can't see the color. They see in gray tones. I thought that was really fascinating, that happens. Toyon is endemic to California, and they're found in the Great Valley along the coastal areas from sea level to about 4,200 feet. And you could find them also in other areas because they're really beautiful and people will use them and plant them in their gardens. They like to live on chaparral ridges, slopes, and in coastal scrubs. Depending on where they are, they could be in a bush or a tree up to 6 to 10 feet in height. Their leaves are evergreen, and that they alternate with the blade being about 2 to 4 inches, and they're narrow to oval, leathery, hairless, or few hairs, which really fits in which way we've been talking about in these more chaparral, drier areas, so that they're able to keep their moisture. And another really good thing or interesting thing about them is that after a fire, they can start to regrow again in as little as 10 days. And they need a little moisture for that to happen, but it's a pretty quick growth that can happen. They provide nectar and pollen to honeybees and another 27 native bee species. Honestly, I didn't know that there were that many native bee species. They provide nectar to flower flies, butterflies, ants, and Anna's hummingbirds. They can have an underlying foul odor, and that attracts flies, especially a hoverfly. It's sometimes called a flower fly, and that's one of their primary pollinators. So they're really a busy hive. There's so many different species that are there when the trees are blooming, and again, their habitat contributions, besides being a pollinator, their leaves get eaten by wood rats and deer. The flowers are consumed by thrips, larva hosts for at least 50 moths, berries, and seeds eaten by many different birds, as I talked about earlier, and they're also a nesting habitat for birds and wood rats. The really one of the facts that I came across is we can be really thankful that this tree is still here. In the 1920s, it's protected by law. So by law, you cannot on public lands, you can't take any of the berries or clip the branches or anything, because what happened was they almost became extinct because they're so beautiful, and people for their Christmas or holiday decorations in the winter were taking and clipping all of the berries. So that's really a beautiful, it's endemic. And I guess the other thing for me is I then looked up Pyacanthra, which we often, use for winter, and, found out that is a non-native species. And so this really is our species, and for around this area. And the other thing I think, closing, is it made me realize, you look at how many different ways this tree, this bush, the Toyon, contributes to the habitat where it lives, and what would have been the loss without it, because of it pollinates. And I think especially, I think about being one of those trees that there's fruit for birds that they needed in the winter. So there you have it. There's a little bit about the Toyon, or the Christmas berry, as it is often called. Thank you.